My name is Ben Barry. I'm Dean of the School of Fashion here at Parsons. And on behalf of Parsons School of Design, tonight is a very special night. Thom Browne is a true inspiration to all of our students, an incredible supporter of our alumni. I know many are here tonight who have worked or continue to work now with Thom Browne. And of course, an amazing advocate for young designers and American fashion in general. Thom has been such a gracious and generous supporter of the School of Fashion at Parsons, speaking twice at our graduation ceremonies. As I think about tonight's event, I think about the connection between Thom Browne, Parsons, and our location here in New York City. I begin by acknowledging that we're on the traditional and ancestral land of the Lenape people. And this is a land where creative and experimental fashion has always thrived, beginning with indigenous designers. And tonight, as we think about this legacy, I think about the ways that Parsons and Thom Browne continue this, centering New York as a space of truly creative and experimental design. A site of what is possible. And that is what our conversation will be about this evening. I want to share that book sales are available at the back of the auditorium after the event, and Thom will be signing books here on stage. Of course, tonight would not have been possible without our incredible team at Parsons. A big thank you to Anthony Curry, Andrea Searville, and of course, to Phaidon, the publisher of the book, who also made tonight possible. So with that, it is my pleasure to turn it over to the stage, turn it over to the conversation, so we can hear about Thom Browne, the past, the present, and the future. Enjoy tonight, and thank you for being here.
Tell me to stop. Tell the rain not to drop.
Sizzling.
Sizzling. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
We're happy to be here. Thanks to the new school.
Nice to see everyone.
Tom and I have known each other a long time, but I think tonight there's a lot to celebrate. 20th anniversary, a wonderful book, which has a whole career in it. So I thought what would be a great place to start is how you end up here with a great book, and a little bit about, I've always been inspired, and I think there's so much to learn from you about how you came to fashion, because it was not a straight path. And so how did you start in fashion, and why?
Well, let's start before fashion. I graduated school, had no idea what I wanted to do, and it took me around 10 years of life to bring me to, really even have a small idea of what I wanted to do. And, it started when I was living in LA and doing everything possible, and started to play with vintage clothing with my friend Johnson, and that was really the start of what I could say is being in the world of doing something with clothes.
Right.
And so it started there, and when I talk about how it started in LA with vintage clothing, really the proportion of what everything is based around right now started back in about 1995 in LA with the vintage clothing that I used to play with. And then I was broke, and I thought I needed to get back to New York, and I needed a job, and it was at Giorgio Armani, and that's where I entered into the world of fashion.
And again, that was not a glamorous position. That was doing what at Armani?
No, I was a salesman in the wholesale department, and I didn't know what I was doing. When I was in LA, it was the time that, I'm gonna sound like a dinosaur, but it was the time that emailing came into be, and I literally sat at my desk at Giorgio Armani, and the poor other account executive next to me had to help me figure out how to email. So yeah, pretty pathetic. And then I was so happy just to have a job.
Yeah.
And I was just so happy to have a paycheck, because I had almost 5 years in LA of just not having any steady money coming in. So I really just loved having a job.
And then when is the moment when you decide, I'm going to take a chance on myself, I'm gonna risk something? Because again, you were 35, 36 when you stepped into that, right?
Yeah.
Which is, again, I think it's so inspiring, because it was, people think, if I don't do it at 22, if I'm not starting right out of school, I'm not gonna make it. But, there was a sort of not straight path. So what's the idea? When's the moment when you think, I want to try this with these suits, and I'm gonna change how people see the suit?
Well, initially in the showroom at Giorgio Armani, I started, really loving the idea of playing with clothing and just being in that world of playing with clothes. And so I learned, that in the world of Giorgio Armani. Then, I had the opportunity to move more into design with Ralph Lauren, and then I loved that experience too, because, I got to work with, really two of the most iconic designers of our last, however many decades. And, learning that I loved what I was doing, but I had an idea that, I personally wanted for myself, and that was where it started. And I thought if I was going to do it, why not try? Because I thought, and it's a good lesson for anyone. I really feel like anybody can do it. But I do feel like you have to have the idea and you have to take the chance. So I took the chance, and certainly didn't happen overnight.
Well, let's talk about that, because again, I think what's fascinating is like what it's like when you're down here. Where did you open? Did you have any money backing you? And you were basically in your apartment doing suits for whoever would commission you, right?
Yeah. I did it. I feel like the best way, because I wasn't beholden to anyone. I just funded everything by appointment, by private customers, and it was very specific. I wanted people to understand what I wanted them to see, and that was the proportion that I was doing. And that's why I say it certainly wasn't overnight, because it was at a time that nobody was buying tailoring. It was a proportion that nobody understood, nobody really liked. It was very expensive because I was making it was handmade tailoring made here in New York. And so it was hard. And I begged friends to buy something just so that I could actually fund it. And, but I even had friends that were like, oh, it doesn't really look like it fits you, so I don't know why I would really want to buy it myself. So but I loved it so much. And it was so specific to what I wanted, and I knew eventually somebody would get it.
And which would segue to, there's moments in every successful career where something really special happens, and that's when someone knocked on your door, came down and looked at a suit and bought one, and that was a key moment for you, right?
Well, I did, because I was in the apartment, and then I got to a point that it was just a little awkward, working out of the apartment. And then I thought if I wanted people to feel like it was more professional than it was in the apartment, I took a space that I wondered how I was going to afford the space down on Little West 12th Street, and open up the first shop. And I was running to Long Island City to my tailor and back to the space, and but it was so much fun. It was so much work, but it was so much fun. And I was just doing it, and initially it was very slow, and then I was fortunate enough that Sarah from Colette in Paris came in, and I thought she just wanted to see it, and then she said, okay, well, I would love to have it in the store. And then on top of that, the team from Bergdorf's came in and said they wanted to buy the collection. And I didn't really have a collection. I just had a couple suits in the shop. So, and it was just gray suits, white Oxford shirts, and I think it was spring, so I think I might have had a seersucker suit.
Yeah, and then you got a call from Mickey one day that someone else was going to come by the store, right?
And then, yeah, I had some, memorable moments with some, iconic people. I had David Bowie that came into the shop, and I was so nervous because he was David Bowie. And I thought, I was so strong with most people that came into the shop. I was like, they would, oh, can I have the trousers a little longer? I was like, no, I don't do that. I can send you uptown to somebody that can do that. But David Bowie was like, okay, well, and he said, so how do you want me to wear it? And I said, well, I wear it like this. And he said, okay, I'll wear it like that. And then I thought, like, okay, that is some type of validation, I think, if David Bowie wants to wear it like me.
Well, it was a moment when it sort of broke through because he wore it to the MTV Awards, and it sort of like it got into the public eye in a way that had transcended something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't care where he was wearing it. I just just the fact that David Bowie was in my space and he, knew what I was doing. That was all I cared about. And then he did actually wear it. And the thing that it was just one of those moments that made me think, like, okay, at least it's being seen and it's appreciated by, somebody that I really respect, and not just, somebody, that.
Some guy.
He was a little bit more than just some guy.
Let's talk about, where does the original vision for the suit come from? And that, as well as, I think I want to ask you about the importance of the suit, because you've talked about this before when we've been together, that it is really the importance of a foundational piece, right?
I mean, for me, I just loved tailoring. I mean, I just loved wearing tailoring myself, so it was always just very personal, and it was something that I just wanted to do myself. It was, I didn't overthink it. I thought, like, if I was going to do this, I wanted to do something that I loved myself and do it in a way that it was giving something to the world that meant more than just another piece of clothing, because that's the last thing the world needs is another designer or another piece of clothing. So I thought, like, there was an idea behind it that made it, there was a reason for its existence. And so it was as easy as that, as simple as that.
It's easy but also as complicated as that too, because.
Well, no, I mean, but it was very specific in regards to, this is the proportion that I wanted to reintroduce tailoring to people with. It was taking such a classic idea that everybody was really running away from at that moment, and it was reintroducing it in a way that made people see it differently. Most people didn't like it, so at least, but I thought that was interesting because it was such a classic idea that we all grew up with, and the idea that is starting a conversation for people, I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand how it, sometimes it drove people so crazy, but I mean, and then I would walk past, schoolyards and little kids would laugh at me, and so it was kind of interesting because I didn't think much about it other than it was starting a conversation with something that was so classic. I thought that was interesting.
In those early years, were you ever deterred or ever think like this is not going to work out, and what happens if it doesn't catch on?
I never really thought if it wasn't. I just, I didn't realize it was going to take as long as it did at the beginning. And then, of course, it wasn't an overnight thing. It was slow at the beginning, and then, and then I had to figure out how to actually sustain it by some type of business.
Right.
Because I had the moment around 2009 that I almost went out of business, and so it was not easy, but fundamentally what it was, I loved so much that I knew that there's no way that I could let it go.
Well, let's talk about the moment when you almost went out of business, because I think there's so many lessons inside that for people who are out in the audience listening, and it's like, were you scared? What did you learn, and how did you figure it out? Because, as I've said before, people who've heard us talk, that I remember being with you on a Friday night, and you said, if I don't get money by Monday, I'm done.
Yeah.
And you would rather just walk away than.
This is why you can't listen to a lot of people and get advice from a lot of people, because everybody advised me to go out of business and start over. And I was, 6 years into it, and I could never do it again. I couldn't do those 6 years over, because there was so much emotion and work, and I just couldn't. Maybe I was just too stubborn, because I just could not believe that it was gonna go away. So I figured it out. And Mickey and I were on a plane to Japan, and we had a good customer that was our angel, and he made it so that we could stay in business. But there was no way I was gonna let it stop.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah. You say stubborn. I think you persevere. I think that's always what's been so inspiring about you, is the ability to keep moving forward. You've been around 20 years now. You see people come to you asking for, maybe you don't want to take advice from people, but what do you think people need to learn who want to go into the fashion world about what it takes?
Oh, it's just, you really have to want to do it. And you have to love what you're doing more than anyone else in the world. You have to know that it's going to be so much work, and it's not as glamorous as everybody thinks, but it's so much fun. But I just be serious about creating something that means something and make it really well, because people do care about the quality of the work. And I think it comes down to the most important thing is really wanting to do it and understanding what you're getting yourself into and wanting to do it long term, and this is the only thing you want to do, and do it, because you all can do it.
Right, and I think what I hear in that is it's, a lot of people, not just in fashion, but I think because of how the world is wired now, you came up without social media, right, without any of that, and so you had that maybe luxury or freedom to, in those early days, just to do it for yourself, and you didn't have to put it all and then see if anyone likes it, and so you had the ability to just immerse yourself in the idea, but also then to keep going back into it, right? And know that it's not just one collection and you're out. I didn't want to be famous, right?
Yeah, you can't do it for fame or money, because most likely that's not going to happen, because success should be just the idea of doing something really well and loving it more than anyone else, and success is so relative. But I mean, the most important thing is also don't care about all the stuff that's going on, because there's so much. I think we are fortunate, the generation that didn't have or really grow up with social media, because I always feel like ignorance is bliss. Sometimes I think people hated what I was doing, but I was like, I don't know, I think everybody loves it. So I never heard that they hated it. So it was fine. I thought I was kind of doing a good job. Even at the beginning, when everybody hated it and thought he should lengthen that jacket and lengthen those trousers because it looks ridiculous, I was like, oh, I thought everybody loved it. So I think it's so important that you really, you are so confident in it that it doesn't really matter most of the time what people think. Because you're getting yourself into a world that you'll be critiqued twice or 4 times a year, and you better love it better than all the critics, because they don't always love it, and that's part of it. But that's the great part, because it does, it keeps you moving forward, and it keeps you wanting to do the work that is challenging everybody and starting those conversations, because you have to do work that is challenging people. It's our responsibility to put ideas in front of people that they don't even know that they want yet. And that is what we should do.
Some of your shows here, speaking of ideas that challenge, and then some of the success that you had early on. You had designed a dress for Michelle Obama on the inauguration, right? Some of these were just incredible things that just, again, I think what's inspiring, they came to you. You never sought this out. And I think that to me is a testament to the integrity of the ideas, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been just true to what I wanted to do, and granted, I mean, Mrs. Obama, had other people too that she, that had made things for her, and she just happened to choose mine that day, and so I was the fortunate one that she chose. But for me, it was such an honor, because I made something so true to her that represented me as a designer.
Yeah. For those who've been to your shows, they're always singular, because they're not simply a fashion show, a presentation. As you said, there's an idea to them. And we've talked in the past about how you feel there's a duty to give someone something that's, as you just said, provocative? Think about where. So, obvious question for any artist: where do you get these ideas, and how do they come to you?
I mean, they come from so many different places. They come from art, books, movies. So it's never the same place.
Yeah.
So it's closing your eyes and thinking of something that seems interesting. But yeah, it's different every time.
Yeah.
It's never like so intellectual most of the time. So it's usually.
That's because ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. Yeah. I said that once. Yeah, there's a funny story to that.
There's a story behind it.
My sister, yeah, I'll tell the story.
Go ahead, tell us.
My sister is a doctor in Chicago. She was in medical school. And I think there was an article that came out in a Chicago newspaper. And the title, the title of the article was, Tom Thinks Ignorance is Bliss. And my sister's like, I can't believe my brother is. Family will always keep you very grounded.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, then you sort of transcend, you cross over through the potential nightmare of losing what you've built. And you become someone who's established now. The business is successful by all financial means, all financial measures, I should say. What, if you were going to look at, that 18-year-old, 22-year-old Thom Browne, what would you would say to that now about someone like wanting to start out, and what would you say to him about how it's going to go?
I would say, the most important thing, just be true to yourself.
Yeah.
And figure out exactly what you want to do, and stay true to that, and stay true to yourself as a person too. But also to let life lead you however it's going to lead you to. Don't be so like kind of tunnel vision that it's going to keep you from experiencing things that might bring you to, bigger things. So like really enjoy the process and let life kind of, enjoy the process of doing what you're doing.
Yeah, you never stressed out. You never got.
I'm not stressed out a lot.
But when in those days, that's what I think is so great. It's like you're like, if it goes down, it goes down, but you were not.
No, I wasn't like, if it goes down, it goes down. I was like, I am not going to let this go down. My God, I was
I
like.
finally got a rise out of him.
No, I was not going to let it go down. I would have died if it went down.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about, there's always the people behind it who've made a difference. You mentioned Mickey, who was your first partner in publicity, but I'm always fascinated by Rocco. You talked about earlier about going out to see your tailor in Long Island City, and the difference that having good artists and people that you trust who can help you realize. Tell a little bit about Rocco.
Rocco was the tailor that really I built the foundations of everything with. And it came down to he was just a beautiful hand tailor that made beautiful clothes, and that's all he cared about, was making beautiful clothes. And so the concepts and ideas, he would roll his eyes when I came to him with the ideas. But the great thing about him was that he never said no. Because I guess in a way I was clear enough in regards to, as crazy as the idea was, there was like a reality to why it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I bet he made the most amazing clothes. And for a tailor that moved here, a Roman tailor that moved here in the 50s, to be able to do more conceptual work, he, got, I think, a thrill out of that too.
Yeah, because you were pushing
Yeah.
his talents as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of ideas, so let's talk a little bit about some of these. And again, these are some of your more public-facing
Yeah.
pieces.
Yeah.
this
Well,
was a
this
hit.
is, I mean, this is amazing. And, I'm sitting up here, but I have the most amazing team, and a lot of them are sitting here in the audience. So, like, when you see images, I am sitting here, but there's, so many people here in the audience that have really actualized so much of what you're seeing. So, I mean, that's, another thing to realize is, like, you cannot do this on your own.
Right.
And so I want to recognize the amazing team I have. Where are you? But this type of moment, it's, because I love the conceptual side of what I do, but I also like the more classic side that actually funds the more conceptual side. And that is the one thing that is really one of the reasons why I'm actually the chairman of the CFDA too, why I took that on. Because I really wanted to make sure that, I wanted to almost lead by example in that you can do, crazy, amazing, beautiful experiences like this.
Right.
But you also have to have the side that actually funds it. And I think sometimes it's so much fun to do this, but you also have to have the side that actually, creates the business that can fund it. But these moments are fun. But the one thing that this moment was so important for our team because we all work really hard, but also when you see somebody like Cardi B, you always see the just the outward, glamorous side. She was in fittings at 3 o'clock in the morning because that was the only time she had. And, sometimes you don't realize, that at that level of celebrity, the work that goes into being that type of person.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience. We loved her, we loved the experience, and we loved making that because it was, to be able to make something like that is just, it's a luxury, and it's,
Yeah. Some of the other people, guys have dressed, the men as well.
Can't forget the guys.
Can't forget the guys. Starts with a suit. And, I always loved the LeBron James moment, which I think is great, and how he came to you guys. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
LeBron was a customer, and a really good customer, and he loved the clothes. And we were at an event, and it was a very simple conversation that I always thought, because young kids look up to athletes so much, that I thought it would be interesting for during the playoffs, because when walking through the tunnels to the game became this amazing fashion moment a lot of times. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if all of you guys just wore the same thing? And they looked at me like, okay, I don't understand how that is so interesting. But for me, I thought it would be a really good cultural moment for young kids to see these amazing athletes that can wear anything in the world, but to wear the exact same thing and represent themselves at their level as a team. I thought it was so good for kids to see.
Yeah.
So it was, on one level, I thought it was an important cultural moment and, very inspiring for kids to see, but then also they just happened to look really good in the clothes, so it became a fashion moment too.
Yeah. Oops. That's BTS. They look good in suits. And then these are some of your big moment in Milan for the 20th anniversary, right?
That was in Paris.
Paris,
the
excuse me.
Couture show, yeah.
Right. The Opera House. And then I want to, this funny little thing here. Here we go. More of the women's collections.
That was the Couture show in Paris. And the great thing about that was really for the 20th anniversary to celebrate the moment of just the height of making clothes. And so I thought it was a good time to really celebrate, because I've always, as conceptual as an idea as I want to put in front of people, the quality is more important than the concept sometimes. So I wanted to marry the idea of making clothes at a couture level in a conceptual way that, that I think represented the 20 years.
Yeah. Do you get nervous when you think you have to do about doing couture? Or was that a nervous? Did you think I'm stepping into something that's? I mean, you've done elements of it, but.
Yeah. No, I mean, the one thing, it was a good challenge, and I wanted to, I think, I'm sitting here with the team, and the thing, as we were developing the collection, we all realized, like, we do actually, our collections at a level that are high, level in regards to quality. So it was nice to challenge ourselves and make sure that we were, putting it in the week of couture and making sure that it was worthy of,
Right.
Living during the week of couture in Paris.
Yeah. I want to get to some of the images. And then it's probably a good segue to, 20 years now, you've done the book. You had an event the other night when you did it with your partner, Andrew Bolton, who is, you guys sort of collaborated on this, right?
Andrew really did the book.
But you said something at the event the other night, you said, which Andrew said to you, if you can use that quote, that about the problem with designers is what?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew has always said that you designers are the worst curators of their own work, which is true, because it's so personal that we're like, I need that, so it's hard to.
They don't keep track of it, it's always sort of moving around.
Well, everything is important,
yeah.
in a way. And so, to be able to do the book, which I think is so special because you're seeing my work through, I think, the most important eyes in the world of fashion. I think Andrew, and I've said this, often because I do think it is so important for people to hear that I think Andrew is the most important person in fashion because he has elevated fashion to the level of being, in the biggest museum shows in the biggest museum in the world.
What have you learned through Andrew's eyes, maybe even like looking back at your work? Is there something that you didn't see before or that you've seen looking back with him?
I think the most important thing, Andrew reminded me that, because I'm very rigorous and I'm...
What?
Yeah. Sometimes boring in regards to like wanting things to almost, like everything has to, it needs to build upon each other.
Right.
And I think the idea of the consistency in the work, I think, was important. And I think that's what Andrew reminded me, that was what you see in the 20 years, is that it really all does relate back to that idea from 20 years ago.
Was there anything you were surprised when you looked through it that you would, it's like seeing an old friend in a family photograph or something that you forgot about that, or that made you think twice about looking back?
No, I think there are some collections that, I love them all, some more important than others, and there are some things that we live in a world that, I may not do. Yeah.
I want to save time for questions from the audience. So we have 2 microphones down front here, and you're all invited to.
We're finished talking already?
Well, I think it's important. You and I could talk forever, but
it's 6:54. You have 6 more minutes.
It's important to. We're here for you guys, so they don't want to hear the old guy talk. Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. I'd say just alternate one at a time and just state your name, and we'll answer your question. And you can form a line. Someone's got to go first. If not, we'll keep talking.
Hello, Thom Browne. My name is V, and first of all, I love all of your work. And I see a lot of your signature styles, the 4 stripes, and the color red, white, and blue. And I would like to know more of the story behind it and how it was created.
The 4 stripes initially were 3 stripes, and then a very big German company told me I couldn't use 3 stripes. So it turned into 4 stripes. But that was inspired more from a varsity reference, and I swam growing up, so more of a varsity sports reference. And same thing with the it's actually white, red, white, blue, white, because a very unfriendly German company insists that it's 3 stripes, and it's actually 5. And it came from ribbons that I won swimming growing up.
Okay, that's a very great story. I'm gonna let the other audience ask other questions.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
What inspired your decision to only wear shorts?
See, I'm happy we turned it over these questions. These are the ones I know. These are getting fun.
I mean, probably the same reason why the trousers were short, initially. It's
They
just
kept
one
getting
of those,
shorter.
They're not going to get any
Because
shorter.
I've experienced these winters. I'm not sure if I could wear the shorts the whole time.
Yeah. No, with the knee-high socks and a coat, it's fine. For me, it's just like it's that classic thing and just playing with it, and it's just a personal thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. My question was, here, I'm a little shorty. Okay. Which is why I love your clothing too, because it fits me incredibly. My question was similar in terms of origin, going from working with, Ralph Lauren and Armani to now completely shifting what, I could say now what our idea of a suit looks like and how it should fit. How do you account for that sort of leap? You talk a lot, there obviously is a passion, but how do you tune into that in order to sort of take that leap? Because it is, especially starting out, very scary.
Yeah, it wasn't so scary because I wanted it for myself. It was so personal, and it wasn't scary at all because it was something that I wanted for myself. So I didn't really even think about it so much other than I was Rocco, I want this proportion, the jacket this short, and the trouser like this, and then that's what it was. Because I did want to do something that was not just, tailoring or a suit. I wanted to do something that really meant something too. And, so it was reintroducing that classic idea in a way that really made people see it differently.
Awesome. Thank you, and you help us see it differently.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Sharanya. We're truly honored to be witnessing this, and thank you so much for taking out the time to speak with us.
Thank you.
I'm very curious to know what's your inspiration with that, behind the Hector bag, and what would be your one advice to the future leaders that, who aspire to become you one day?
Oh, don't aspire to be me. that's. I'll start with there. Aspire to be you. Hector comes from our dog, Hector. So it was very easy. No, we've had Hector for 8 years, and we love him so much. And it was just a stupid idea of making a Hector bag, and actually we sell so many Hector bags. So when you think your idea is stupid, go for it because it usually works. But the most important thing, don't aspire to be anybody but yourself. And I think the most important thing is that you all can do it, but just make sure you know that it's going to be so much work. But it's great work. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Iris. What is something you wish you knew when you were younger?
How to use email?
No. No, I think, I don't know. What is it? I don't know. I feel like, when I talked about life, really just making sure that you live life and let life kind of lead you into, I think it's more that just don't kind of think you have to know everything. I think everything usually happens if you let it happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I add one thing?
You probably have a better answer than I
No,
do.
no, no. I think that to put a layer on that, which knowing you all these years, and I've said this to you every time, is I think one thing that to take away maybe is the perseverance and the dedication, but like you never compromised the vision. And when even, you know, we're laughing at people laughing at you, but you know, you wanted to do it for you, and even people saying it's not going to sell. But I think there's something very powerful about it, and you were going to go where you wanted to go with your idea, and that's I think what any individual who inspires us as a creative person, you know, and rather than listening to other people, I think that's part of the power of it. So
Yeah.
We over here now?
What was your favorite celebrity to style?
They're all, you know, good in different ways. You know, the one thing that we don't really, you know, always actively pursue that. It's more of a mutual relationship that we have before. So they're all, you know, friends, and we've all appreciated the experiences in different ways because they're all so different. But the most important thing is that we've always appreciated what they do, and they, you know, have appreciated us. So I can't really say who.
Thank you so much.
He loves all his
I
children.
I have one that wasn't so great, but
That's for the next book.
yeah.
Hello, I'm Anna. Congratulations on the 20 years.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you had kind of a vision for where the brand will be in the next 20 years.
The most important thing is that it's bigger, hopefully. But you feel that it has stayed true to what it has been for the first 20.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Alexandra. I was wondering, as someone who started with the bread and butter of your business being men's suiting, how long into your career did you transition into doing women's wear, and what did you learn? What were obstacles like that you learned from men's wear that you applied to women's wear?
Honestly, I did women's very early into doing men's as well. And I didn't overthink it. I thought, like, I'm just going to do my men's for women's, and I just did it. I fumbled through the logistics of, the differences, but I always just wanted to do the same thing, almost make that same gray suit, in a way that looked good on women as well.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Aria. So I was just wondering, like, when you're looking for more hires, are you looking at designers that really coincide with, like, your brand ideals and kind of like what's come to expect of Thom Browne, or are you looking for someone that kind of is bringing something new and like breaking the mold, or like?
I want somebody that likes what I do.
Okay.
First, but then definitely complements that can add something to complement it. But, fundamentally really understands, what I do. Because what we do is so specific, and I really want the fundamental, understanding of what it is first. And then, then I love it to open up to then, making all of my ideas better.
Got you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Thom Browne. My name is Brian O. And I know you touch a lot of uniform and unity in your work. I would like to know why that speaks more to you than anything else, and why you choose that.
I don't know, for me, there's a real confidence in somebody that has adopted a uniform for themselves, because I feel like it shows the person more than the actual clothing. And for me, that's more interesting. I'd rather, see somebody's personality and who they are as a person, as opposed to just the clothes that they're wearing. And, in the idea that how, we all represent the collections, on a day-to-day basis, for me, it was like creating that image that when you think of the collection, you had a clear image of what it was and what it is. And then I think within that uniform, we have so many beautiful, individuals that are, that are part of my team, and I think that is what is interesting. But it's really, I think there's a real confidence when you see somebody that is very secure, that they don't have to change what they wear every day. And but it's personal for me.
That's so interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Tom. My name is Melissa Vallone. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So my question is, what is the significance of conceptualization in regards to turning an idea into an actual garment?
That's
Sorry.
Yeah.
Duh. Here, hold my hand, it'll be okay.
Well, the most important thing is that because as you should challenge yourself to create and think of the most interesting ideas, but you have to make sure that it can come to life. Because there's nothing worse than, but also come to life in a high quality way. Because there's nothing worse when you see something that's conceptual and actualizing it can't really be done well. So I think you have to make sure that you should certainly challenge yourself as much as possible to create the most crazy, interesting ideas, but make sure that you can make it really well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Mira. I know you said you wanted to continue to grow your brand. What's the hardest part about building it now?
Everybody thinks like, oh, now it must be easy, it must be great. I have to say it gets harder and harder because you have to keep, you have to make sure that it doesn't go rogue. That you have to make, as more people come in and there's more of it and there's more stores, you really have to make sure that the message is really pure. But you want to make sure that it moves and it grows, because there's nothing worse when you feel like something is stagnant and not evolving and has to stay relevant for the time, but you have to make sure that it doesn't undo what has made it, at the beginning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Christopher. It is nice to meet you. My question for you is, going back to your idea of ignorance is bliss, if you could picture yourself growing up in the age that social media was a thing, how do you think it would change the way you went about building your brand and just building what you have today?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you can answer that, other than I have social media for work. I don't really have personal, so it's a personal thing that I don't really engage in it even now, personally. So I don't think it would be much different. I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yuti, and I have a question that you have been working for 20 years, and I want to know if there's one piece that makes you feel like this is when I made it. Like, when was that?
The gray suit at the beginning. No, I do feel like everything really, it always starts from that first gray suit that I made. And every collection really starts fundamentally from there. You see that idea, it comes up and evolves and is shown differently in so many different ways, over the last 20 years. So it's definitely that idea of that tailored idea at the beginning.
That was incredible, though. Like, even I love the gray suit so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, almost did it. Hi, I'm Lizzie.
Hello.
Hi. What I was wondering is, in your collections, how do you strike that balance between the functionalness of a garment versus like being really conceptual with your designs?
I'm answering these questions, but I have the most amazing team that actually, we do it all together, and But I mean, it starts from more of a conceptual idea, and then, you know, we figure out how it's going to be made into a garment that can be worn on the body. But then, you know, of course, some things are more functional than others, and, you know, I think it's important that you see all of it. But I do feel like, though, in the collections that I show in my shows, they veer more less functional than you know, say, functional.
All right, thank you so much.
My team is looking at me like, what? What are you saying?
I think they veer more. I mean, it's pure beauty on some of those things.
Well, I
right?
think sometimes it's more the idea, but it is on a body, so it is being worn. But sometimes, you know, it's not as, you know, yeah, it's a little more specific than a classic gray suit. Yeah.
Cardi B is not taking the 6 train. Yes.
Hello, my name is Jordan.
Hi.
I saw one of your Vogue interviews where it had like the fashion illustrations, and it was like triangles, circles, like
Yeah.
lines, and you speak very highly of your team.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of get a little look into how are those translated into physical garments, how your team is able to read them, and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Maybe you should ask them. No, for me, because I can't sketch at all, I'm horrible. So it's really, that's the way I sketch in regards to proportions in my head, but I have the most amazing illustrators and sketchers and, you know, on my team that it's a lot of conversation. It's a lot of conversation. And then also too, you know, it's a lot of conversation because sometimes what is in my head, sometimes I, you know, assume that it's so it's a lot of conversation.
Yeah, because also it's not there is the kind of fabric, how it's going to, you know, I mean, it's, there's the elements of it, but then it's talking all out with the design team, right?
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes.
Hey, Tom.
Hi.
My name is Bashar.
Hi.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so my question was, during the talk, you'd mentioned that at the beginning of your journey, that tailoring was not necessarily something that was in style, or it wasn't as massively consumed as maybe it is now. And I was wondering, what do you think it was when you first started out and first started designing your gray suits that really pushed it into the success that it is now, especially with the defiance that your proportion, your cut kind of had at the time?
I think it was that I just stuck to it, and I didn't like, it didn't change because people were telling me that it should change. And I think people saw that it was very real to me, so I think it just took that amount of time of just pushing that in front of people and making it important because it was so important to me.
Precisely.
As simple as that, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, so like almost the integrity kind of your work.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All those people went away.
Everybody, where'd everybody go?
Wow, what happened? I guess that means we've come to the end. Tom will be here with some signing books. I guess you can get them outside. And you may have all of them, and he'll be right back here, upstage back here. He'll sign them for you, and I'm sure take even more questions. So, Tom, thank you.
Thanks, Michael.